This is the Balanced Advisor Podcast with Dr. Travis Perry, helping financial advisors like you achieve balance in their lives.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Balanced Advisor Podcast. Here with me today is Greg Kurinec. He is a financial advisor with Bentron Financial Group. And he mentions that the common thread that runs through his life is the joy of serving others. As we met earlier for the pre-show, it's very apparent that Greg enjoys this. But even better, Greg gets to apply this passion through his work. Since joining Bentron Financial Group, Inc. in 2004, he has helped people at or near retirement through investing, advising, estate planning, risk management, and watching out for their overall financial well-being. More recently, his passion is launching a nonprofit organization that supports families affected by cancer. Welcome, Greg, to the Balanced Advisor Podcast Show.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, I've enjoyed meeting with you just a few minutes before the show to talk about some of your passions and how you serve people. And this is, the essence, what I found with financial advisors. I've interviewed hundreds of advisors. They all at the core, the real good ones, have this quest to serve people, have this quest to really help and love their clients and love their community. So, it's very apparent that that's part of who you are. So it's great to rub shoulders with you, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, I always like to start off with this question because everybody has a different answer. And this is a show dedicated to work-life balance for advisors. But let's start off with your definition of work-life balance.
The way that I like to define work-life balance is freedom. Basically, the freedom to pursue my work, the different opportunities, the different agendas that I might have as I see them fit. So obviously, as a financial advisor, that's the number one priority, is taking care of my clients and making sure my business is running efficiently. But by having this balance, by having this freedom to take time off when I need to, whether it's for travel, vacation, family reasons, or just to take time off to pursue another opportunity, whether it's working on Jeanne's Journey for Hope, my foundation, or something else along those lines. If I buy a new house and I need to spend some time rehabbing the house or something like that, being able to leave the office, leave what I'm doing, and know that things are still going to run efficiently, that my staff and my support group is there to make sure that everything is still going to be in place no matter where I am or how long I'm going to be away from it.
Yeah, I love that. Just that freedom and flexibility. I find that to be just universal. Most advisors that I talk to, freedom, flexibility, finances, like that tends to be some kind of thread throughout their answers about what work-life balance is. So I love that we've talked about what you like to do outside of work, advising, being as a financial planner. We know the rigors, the routines, but let's talk about Jeanne's Journey for Hope. How did you get started with that? And what was the reasoning behind that whole nonprofit?
Sure. Jeanne's Journey for Hope is a foundation that myself and my family started. My mother was diagnosed with colon cancer, and she passed away 8 years ago. So it originally started, my sister was running the half marathon in the city of Chicago for the American Cancer Society. And we thought, we're Southside Irish Catholic people. We know a lot of people around us. So what better way to raise money for her and her fundraising efforts, but to have a party? At the time, my mother was still alive. So we kind of threw it together in a few short weeks and put this all together. And we're able to raise a bunch of money for her to donate to the American Cancer Society. And it was fantastic. So that was in July. Then my mother passed away in October. So we said, we had such success with the event as it was when my sister was doing it for American Cancer Society. Why not try and keep my mother's memory alive? So we created Jeanne's Journey for Hope. And we've been in existence. This will be our 10th year. 2020 obviously was a little bit difficult as it was for everybody else, but this will be our 10th year. And what we do is we find local families, somebody that's been affected by cancer, and we have an application process, but we don't have a certain criteria that anybody has to fall into. So it's not age or sex-based or race-based or even monetarily based. It's by filling out the application and just trying to find somebody that's in need for a little bit of support, whether it's paying off medical bills, paying down debt, whatever the case may be. We even, if they want to take a family trip together because they don't know if they'll be able to take another one, whether it be before their chemo treatments or afterwards, we're not stringent when it comes to that. So it's just about doing some good for the community, finding local families that can use maybe a little bit of a kickstart to help ease this time that they're going through, because it's obviously a very difficult and emotional time. So any little bit of a burden that we can do to alleviate some of that, that's where we want to come in.
Such an amazing thing that you're doing. I love it. You've been able to make a difference in the community that you're in, right? Feeling that local connection. And again, I really do believe this is part of financial advisors who I've met who are successful. They're successful because they do really care about their clients, about the people that they love and they serve, and the communities that you're in. But this also speaks to your work-life balance definition of that flexibility of having the time to do this, as it I'm sure this takes a decent amount of time. I've actually started my own nonprofit, and I also was involved with the American Heart Association, as we talked about in the pre-show, and it's a pretty good time commitment. And I found a lot of advisors, they sit on boards or they're involved in nonprofits that they sometimes are like, I'm not sure why I'm doing this. I thought this was going to help me achieve, maybe some professional goals, but it's really not. But the fact that this is an outlet for you, it does help to allow you to have better work-life balance. So I think this is a wonderful thing that you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. It is. Anybody in my office knows that, typically our event is held in September. So, come August and September, I get a little bit on edge because you're juggling so many balls in the air. You're spinning plates, trying to keep things going. We're in the home stretch. But when it's all said and done, when it comes down to the day of the event, there's nothing more than you can do except put the event on and hope for the best. And there's things that are within your control, and there's a whole lot of things that are outside of your control that we can't, no matter how our work-life balance is, you just can't control some of these things. So, it's something that we look forward to. It is a tremendous amount of work, like you said. But in the end, as soon as the bell rings and the event's over, you take the deep breath and you just feel, you feel good about yourself. You feel good inside. And the fact that you were able to make an impact in somebody's life as opposed to, like you said, just sitting on a board, trying to rub elbows with people, you get to physically and put your time and dedication into it. It feels great.
Yeah, I love it that you can see that obviously there are times in our lives when there are things, there's seasons that are busier than they normally would be, but that you keep pushing through and you have that idea of, well, what can I control? What can I not control? And this goes to the question that's coming up next for us. And that's kind of like, what are the biggest challenges of trying to achieve work-life balance? And you brought up one that I think is valid, and that is the idea of trying to control. So let's kind of run with this one a little bit. And then we can talk about some other ones that you've seen as an advisor. And it could be with your own clients. It could be with your own business as a business owner yourself. But how do you try to not control the things that you shouldn't control? Let's go there first.
Well, I don't do that successfully. Let me tell you that. It is something that I struggle with on a daily basis of being able to delegate more and being able to take my hands off of things, whether it be in work, whether it be in life, or whether it be in the foundation, is trying not to control, trying to take a step back in letting the people that we have in place, whether it be staff or other committee members or anything like that, do what they're supposed to do. Trying not to micromanage. So using some of the different techniques that are available to us, Like I know you're a big proponent of maintaining your calendar, managing your calendar and filling it up with everything. Okay. Whether it's working out, family time, whatever the case may be, just using your calendar to thoroughly and living by that calendar. Now, we all know that life comes into play and things get bumped and moved and things like that. It's easy to put things on the calendar. It's harder to keep them on the calendar and do what you're supposed to do. So using some of those tools and techniques to help facilitate what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. And again, letting the people that we have in place to do their jobs and do them successfully.
Yeah, I love that. This is also a very common theme on the show when we talk about delegation. It just seems to always come up as an advisor to advisors or business owners. Delegation is that word that we all think we know what it means together. But what I want to know from you, and I'm not looking for, a perfect answer on this, because you said, well, I need to work at this. We all do. Like, we're all working on it. But what has worked for you? What are a couple of tips that you would give other advisors out there who maybe struggle with delegating to their staff, to other people? I mean, you basically run two organizations. You have your own business, and you've got this nonprofit that you're working on. And so as an advisor, what would be some helpful hints and tips for others out there on how to delegate better?
Well, I mean, really what it comes down to, in order to delegate, you have to have trust, and you have to have faith in the people around you. If you don't feel like you can delegate to those people that are around you, then they probably shouldn't be on your staff or be part of your organization. So that comes down to, the hiring or the recruiting process. So taking a step back and evaluating that, knowing, okay, if these are truly the people that you want part of your organization, that you want part of your office staff, then you have to trust them. And you're going to have to put the time in to help teach them the things that you want them to do. Okay. You can't just expect somebody to know how to do something right off the bat. So setting aside time, whether it's, again, putting it on the calendar, we need to spend 30 or 60 minutes putting together a training time to these are the tasks that I want you to take over, that I want you to be able to complete, going forward for the next, as long as you're employed here, but I don't expect you to know how to do them. Here is what my expectations are, and this is how you accomplish it. So we all live busy lives. All right. Everybody, especially as business owners and as advisors, generally us financial advisors are very type A personalities. So it's hard to let go of things. But at the same time, we need to be able to rely on our people that we've put in place to execute some of these things. So we need to take time out of our day, even though it's busy, to help them grow, to help them learn. And then hopefully by them learning and growing, they might be able to elevate within the company as well. Might be going from an admin to a paraplanner to eventually an advisor, if that's the path that they want to take. So by helping them grow, you'll see them grow, and you'll be able to help guide them in a direction that they maybe didn't know they wanted to go. But then you'll get, again, the success and the good feeling about that, seeing them as they progress along the lines.
Great advice. Just put in the time. Stick to your calendar, but put in the time on the calendar to train. This comes up often with my own clients, and it usually comes down to they're just not making the time to do the training. And it's imperative that happens, because then you don't have that time to meet with that person and or follow up, and then miscommunications happen and expectations go out the window. I love that you mentioned that, let them know, here's the expectations, but here's how we're going to help you. And trust. Like that's the big thing that came down for me. What you were saying is delegation should be all about trusting. So how has that worked with your group, Greg? As a financial advisor, are you part owner? I mean, how many advisors are there with you in your group that you help to manage staff, et cetera? Maybe give us some specific examples about at your workplace.
Sure. At Bentron, we have 3 advisors, and we are all under the Bentron umbrella, but we also all run our own business, so to say. So, our founder, Jim Flanagan, he opened Bentron in 2000. I actually started interning with him while I was still at school in 2004. So I've been a Bentron follower for quite a long time. I say I was the longest running, but we still have our assistant, Carol Roth, she still is working for us, and she's 83 years old at this point. She's an original. We like to call her the Bentron OG from 2000.
That's
so
awesome.
She's still going because she wants someplace to do. She loves talking to clients. She loves being involved with them. And obviously with COVID, we've taken some more precautions with her because she is a little bit older. But she's still at home making phone calls and talking to people on a regular basis. She loves it. So to kind of back up, yes, we have 3 advisors that are in our office, and then we have Carol, we have Rochelle, and then who is our main admin assistant. So that's where all these we talk about delegation. When we delegate, a lot of it falls onto Rochelle's desk, and she does a fantastic job keeping us afloat, handling our day-to-day operations, and especially when we are out of the office, maintaining everything, keeping everything going. And then we have Cindy that works for us, and she does all of our public speaking. Okay, so she's almost like our PR person that gets us involved in different communities and organizations to get out in the field and spread out. Part of our passion at Bentron is financial literacy. So we're always out there in the community talking about different topics, just educating the community on specific topics that might be top of mind. Obviously, there's a lot of things that have been top of mind with COVID, and now we have the inauguration today. We're taping on the 20th of January. So, we have political change. There's a lot going on. So again, to be out in the community and helping spread the word a little bit.
That's great. Yeah. And I can see that with your support staff, you really do trust them. They each have their specialty. And that's a really big part of allowing you to do what you do better so that you can have better balance. So I that shines really, well through you. I appreciate you explaining that. What do you see, as I get it, sometimes we're siloed in our own businesses, our own firms, but you rub shoulders with the other advisors. You're involved with them, even virtually. What do you see as some other important issues for advisors when it comes to work-life balance? What do you see them struggling with that maybe you don't struggle with, or maybe you do struggle with, that kind of it's out there in the industry?
I think advisors as a whole, and I don't want to group everybody and call it 100%, but advisors as a whole struggle constantly with shiny object syndrome. Okay, whether it be a new technology that's out, a new way to invest funds, a new platform, something new, something there, that's going to distract us from what our core being is. Now, that's not to say that anything new that comes out is bad and we should ignore it, but we can't just jump on everything and that's going to take us away from what our core business is, what our true meaning and what we're supposed to be doing is. So, I'm definitely guilty of it. 100%, whether it's a new marketing idea, whether it's, again, a new technology stack that we want to add to the stack, whatever it is. What I try to do is, and this is advice that I give to my clients. I call it the 48-hour rule when I'm talking to clients. If you want to make a large purchase, take 48 hours, take a step back, decide after 48 hours, is this something that I really need? Is this something that I want? And then if after 48 hours you still want to move forward, then go ahead. So I try to implement the same thing when I'm evaluating new technology or something like that. Is this something that I need? How am I going to implement it into my practice? And how will it help benefit my practice for the long run? Or is this just something that I want to make my life easier, right now, and then 6 months from now, I'm going to be paying for a subscription that I'm not even using anymore? So trying to minimize the distractions as much as we can. It's so easy to go down rabbit holes. Okay, whether, when you belong to different groups and organizations, whether it be, I'm part of the AGC, I'm part of FPA, if you're part of NAPFA, people are always talking about, oh, this is what's working for me right now. And it's easy to get distracted, to jump down that rabbit hole, those wormholes, and go, oh, if it's working for him, it's definitely going to work for me. But you don't really know the structure of their office. You don't know how they're set up to work. So it may not work for you. So you have to do a little bit of due diligence, but ultimately take a step back and do a really long evaluation on how it may or may not impact your business.
Really good answer there. I mean, you were talking about how, advisors tend to struggle, in general with shiny object syndrome. I couldn't agree more. On top of that, there's a lot of other things the FPA has actually said about paperwork, compliance, just trying to do too much at the same time, period. But I think there's also, because at the heart of every financial advisor, they want to truly help their client. There's that attachment to your business is kind of like, this is my baby, right? This is emotional attachment to your clients and wanting to help them. I see that a lot with advisors. But then these distractions can really get you off course. In addition to that, as you've mentioned, rabbit holes, what's working, maybe tech or different platforms, or maybe even a specific investment, program or a designation, right? Even the education. You can do designations forever in this industry and never get them all. But I agree with you. Like, some of these can be rabbit holes. I love that you're talking about that 48-hour rule, take a step back, be non-emotional about it. How will this actually work? Implement. Great advice, because that was actually my next question for you, Greg, is, if you could give some advice to other advisors to have better work-life balance, what would that be? Would it be to avoid these distractions, learn how to control your emotions better? Like, what are a couple of things that you would suggest?
Well, I would say it's ultimately impossible to avoid distractions. We're all going to get distracted by something. It's just, how do we deal with them? So to go to your question, being part of a community, I think, helps. So you have a sounding board, you have a group, whether it's part of a mastermind group or something like that, that you can go to this group and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Has anybody done this? Has anybody used this? What are your thoughts about it? Have you put the time and effort in to research it? And let's come to some sort of agreement on what to pursue. And I think, having a mastermind group, somebody, a group that you might meet with, 3, 4, 5 times a year, whatever it might be, is a great start. And, using that even as a way to say, okay, I found this new technology or, Bitcoin platform or whatever it is that you might want to try to implement, but know that you're not going to do anything until you meet with your mastermind group again. Okay. Or, as a member of the AGC, going to the community platform and say, hey, has anybody had any experience with this? What was your experience? What are your thoughts? And hearing different sides, because some people are going to have a positive response and some people might have a negative response to it. And then determining, okay, based on this is where I lie, this is where my practice lies, or this is where my client is experienced. I think this may or may not be a good way to implement it. So again, using the different groups and organizations that you're members of as a sounding board before implementing anything else moving forward.
Yeah, I like that. Having somebody else you can be accountable to, sounding board, business partners, your own, AGC and other groups out there. I know we interviewed Taylor from AGC, and that's where you and I were able to get in contact. So absolutely, and that's a wonderful idea to have there to keep you from, paying too much attention to some distractions. I like this. This has been a great conversation, Greg. I appreciate you making time for us today on the podcast. I know there's people out there that might want to be rubbing shoulders with you. How do they get in touch with you? What's the best way to reach out to you?
Best way to find me is through our website. So that's www.bentron.com. I'm trying to be more active on LinkedIn, so you can find me on LinkedIn. That's really the only social platform that I have. That's part of 2020 resolutions. Do we need to expand social? But LinkedIn is where I'm active right now. Otherwise, you can find me on the website.
Wonderful. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of the program and for making time to talk about work-life balance today on the Balance Advisor podcast. And we wish you well, and thanks for being such a great example.
It's been my pleasure, Travis. Thank you very much for having me.